All right, so get ready, because today we're diving deep
Deep.
into the FBI's investigation of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow.
And this isn't some, history textbook summary.
Right.
This is straight from a heavily redacted FBI report, most likely from 1977.
It's like we're peeking behind the curtain, right?
Yeah.
Like we're seeing how the Bureau actually operated
Under pressure.
under immense pressure.
Yeah, think about it. The nation is reeling. Accusations are flying.
Absolutely.
And they need to find answers, and they need to find them fast.
And the report really doesn't sugarcoat that
No.
the FBI was walking a tightrope here.
Yeah.
They had to conduct this incredibly thorough investigation.
Yeah.
But they were also facing all this intense public scrutiny.
Oh, yeah.
And let's be real, there was a very real possibility of major social unrest
Absolutely.
if they didn't find the killer quickly.
Yeah. It was April 1968. Racial tensions were already at a boiling point.
Right.
And then this happens.
And then this...
Dr. King is in Memphis supporting those striking sanitation workers.
Yeah.
Steps out onto the balcony of the Lorraine Motel, and boom, a single gunshot.
The report throws you right into the chaos of that moment.
I bet.
The scramble for answers the sheer scale of this investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking agents all over the country following leads,
Wow.
sifting through mountains of data,
Yeah.
a whirlwind of activity, all trying to piece together what happened.
And it wasn't just agents, right?
Oh, no, not all.
I mean, they were relying on a whole network of informants.
Right.
Like the report mentions racial informants, security informants,
Oh, yeah.
even criminal informants,
Yeah.
all feeding information to the Bureau.
It really makes you think about the ethical implications
For sure.
of using those kinds of sources, especially in a case like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
The report really highlights the complexity of that situation.
It does.
The FBI was navigating a minefield of information.
Yeah.
They had to separate fact from fiction,
Yeah.
and potentially they were dealing with informants who had their own agendas.
Right. Exactly.
So it's a very murky area.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the specific locations
Okay.
and some of those puzzle pieces the FBI was trying to put together.
Sure.
The report, it focuses in on Bessie Brewer's rooming house, right?
Yeah.
Right across from the Lorraine Motel.
Right across the street.
Well, why was this place so important?
Well, you have Bessie herself,
Okay.
and then Charles Stevens and William Anschutz. They were all living there,
Okay.
and they witnessed a man running from the scene right after the shot.
Oh, wow.
And their descriptions, they become crucial
Okay.
in building that early profile of the potential assassin.
It's like those police sketches you see on those crime shows.
Exactly.
But this is real life.
Right.
With real stakes.
Absolutely.
And these details were some of the first concrete leads that the FBI had.
That's right. And then just a short distance away at the Kenepe Amusement Company,
Oh, okay.
the investigation takes a major turn. They discover this bundle of evidence just left in a doorway.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
So the report, it describes Guy Kenepe, who's the owner,
Right.
and then a couple of his customers,
Okay.
Beryl Finley and Julius Graham.
Mm-hmm.
They all saw this man walking quickly away from this bundle,
Right.
and then a white Mustang speeding off.
That detail becomes really crucial later on.
It does.
But what's inside that bundle?
Yeah.
That's even more important.
Okay.
We're talking a Remington Game Master rifle, a blue zipper bag
Wow.
with closed binoculars,
Wow.
even beer cans,
Really?
and a bag from the York Arms Company with a receipt inside.
It's like a treasure trove of clues.
It's amazing how these seemingly ordinary things can become key evidence.
Right. You wouldn't think a beer can or a laundry mark could be so important.
You wouldn't, but to the FBI, they were gold.
They were gold.
And they didn't waste any time.
Yeah.
They meticulously traced every single bit of that physical evidence. So, for example, the Remington rifle.
Okay.
That led them to the Aero Marine Supply Company.
Okay.
And a mysterious Harvey Lohmeyer,
Okay.
who we find out later was actually James Earl Ray using an alias.
Oh, wow.
But at this point, they don't know that. So it's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Yeah.
Every piece of evidence they uncover reveals another layer of this really complex story.
And the binoculars were another key piece, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they traced those back to the York Arms Company.
They did.
And the salesman there actually remembered selling them
He did.
to a man matching those early descriptions from those witnesses at the rooming house.
That's right. The net was starting to tighten.
Talk about pressure.
I know, right?
They're following the trail of this mysterious assassin
Mm-hmm.
And every little detail,
Pure little thing.
even a beer can,
Yeah,
could lead them closer to the truth.
absolutely. And the beer cans did just that.
Really?
They traced them to a specific distributor. So that narrowed down the potential locations
Yeah.
where the suspect might have been.
Okay.
And then laundry marks on the clothes from that bundle
Yeah.
pointed to a specific laundry service in Los Angeles.
Wow. So they were really paying attention to detail.
Meticulously.
Yeah.
It was really remarkable.
So from these kind of like scattered pieces, right,
Yeah.
the FBI starts to build a picture of their suspect,
Mm-hmm.
but they still don't have a name.
Right.
And that's where the name Eric Starvo Galt enters the scene.
It does.
And things get even more complicated.
Really twisty.
Yeah.
Galt becomes this focal point of the investigation, at least for a while.
Okay.
They trace him to that laundry service in Los Angeles.
Okay.
His name's in their records.
Yeah.
Then they find pliers in the zipper bag,
Okay.
which they trace back to a hardware store near the laundry.
Wow.
It seemed like they were closing in on this Eric Starvo Galt.
But was he a real person?
Right.
Or just another alias?
That's the question.
Yeah. The report mentions that the trail leads to Galt's supposed address in Birmingham.
Right.
But things go cold there.
They do.
However, they find some unsettling new clues.
Oh.
A locksmithing opportunities booklet
Okay.
and a map of Atlanta
Okay.
with Dr. King's residence and the SCLC headquarters circled.
Oh.
Wait, what is SCLC?
That's the Southern Christian Leadership Conference,
Okay.
which Dr. King helped found and lead.
Okay.
And it was a key organization in the civil rights movement,
Okay.
advocating for social justice and equality.
So finding a map with their headquarters circled is pretty chilling.
It's very unsettling.
Yeah, it suggests that Galt, whoever he was,
Right.
was definitely aware of Dr. King
Yeah.
and potentially had him in his sights.
It's a disturbing thought.
And it gets weirder
Oh.
because the report also mentions that Galt picked up laundry in Atlanta after the assassination.
So he's a ghost.
Yeah.
Leaving trails everywhere, but never staying in one place long enough to get caught.
That's a great way to put it.
It's really frustrating for the investigator.
Yeah, they were chasing a phantom.
They were.
A trail of clues leading to a name that might not even be real.
Exactly. And that brings us to the next chapter of this story.
All right, let's
Let's dive into that.
yeah.
Let's see where this phantom leads us.
Yeah,
It's a wild ride.
it is.
This report takes us on a journey through Ray's life before the assassination.
Yeah.
And it's a story of escapes.
Yeah,
Aliases are real cross-continental adventure.
it really is.
You almost forget that you're reading about a suspected assassin.
It's mind-boggling
It is.
how he managed to stay under the radar for so long.
Right.
So the report, it starts with his escape from the Missouri State Penitentiary
Okay.
back in April 1967,
All right.
and he literally hid in a bread box on a delivery truck.
That's incredible.
It's like something out of a movie.
It is. It's almost comical.
Yeah.
But it also speaks to his resourcefulness
Yeah.
and his desperation.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he was willing to do whatever it took to get out of there.
So from there, he ends up in Kansas City,
Okay.
living hand-to-mouth, even resorting to petty theft.
Right.
The report mentions that he burglarized a trailer
Yeah.
near the Missouri River
Okay.
just for food and supplies.
Wow.
He's clearly adaptable,
He is.
able to survive on his own,
Right.
but then he heads to Chicago and starts building a new identity.
Okay.
He becomes John L. Raines,
Okay.
working as the dishwasher, buying a used car,
Mm-hmm.
even gets an Illinois driver's license.
So he's trying to blend in,
Yeah.
trying to create this new life for himself.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
you can see that restlessness,
Yeah.
the constant movement.
Right.
He's not staying anywhere for long.
He's always on the move.
It's like he's got this itch
Yeah.
that he can't scratch.
That's a great way to put it.
Always looking over his shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
never settling down.
And then he goes north to Montreal.
He does.
And that's where the name Eric S. Galt pops up for the first time.
He does.
That alias that becomes his key to anonymity.
It is.
He rents an apartment, allegedly commits a robbery to get some cash,
Okay.
and then he goes on the spending spree.
Really?
New clothes, a haircut, even a tailor-made suit.
Wow.
It's almost like he's enjoying a taste of freedom
I'm-
before things get serious.
But even then,
Yeah.
there are hints of something darker brewing.
Oh, like what?
Well, he orders these sex books from California,
Okay.
enrolls in a locksmithing course in New Jersey,
Interesting.
even buys a formula for making a two-way mirror.
That That's a strange mix.
It is.
It's this odd combination of mundane interests and things that could be used for more nefarious purposes.
Right, and the report mentions that he even attempts to recruit a woman to vouch for him on a passport application.
So he's thinking ahead,
Yeah,
thinking about how to disappear again,
right.
how to create that new identity.
He even spends time with a Canadian government employee and her friend
Really?
before moving on to Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, so Birmingham, this is where it all starts to come together.
Yeah, he reconnects with his brother, gets rid of the Plymouth he'd been driving,
Okay.
sets up shop under the name Eric S. Galt again.
Right.
So he rents a room, opens a safety deposit box,
Mm-hmm.
but most significantly, he buys a white 1966 Ford Mustang.
There it is.
Remember that white Mustang?
Yes. The witnesses saw speeding away from the Lorraine Motel.
It's all starting to come together.
It is. The pieces are falling into place.
And in Birmingham, he also gets an Alabama driver's license and license plates for the Mustang.
Yeah.
And he acquires a .38 revolver during this time,
Okay.
which was later found on him when he was arrested.
So he's definitely preparing for something.
But it's this strange juxtaposition.
Oh.
Because on the one hand, he's taking dance classes, ordering a photography book.
Right.
He even buys a Super 8 movie camera and projector.
It's almost like he's leading a double life,
Yes.
trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy
Yeah.
while secretly plotting something else entirely.
It's hard to reconcile those two sides of it.
It is.
But then just as suddenly as he appeared in Birmingham,
Right.
he vanishes,
He's gone.
heading south to Mexico.
Wow.
The report tracks him through Mexico, Acapulco, Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta,
Okay.
before he ends up in Los Angeles in November 1967.
So he's all over the map.
He's everywhere.
And while he's in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
he seeks out a clinical psychologist.
Really?
It makes you wonder
It does.
what was going on in his mind.
Right.
What was he seeking help for?
Yeah. Was it genuine inner turmoil?
Right.
Or was he trying to craft a more believable persona?
We can only speculate.
We can.
But it just adds another layer of mystery to this already enigmatic figure.
It does. And then he does something that seems to contradict all his efforts to disappear.
What's that?
He enrolls in more dance classes and rents an apartment.
Interesting.
It's as if he's drawn to this routine, this normalcy,
Yeah.
even while he's planning something that would shatter it all.
It's a strange pull.
It is.
This desire for normalcy, even while he's living this incredibly chaotic life.
And then in perhaps the most bizarre twist in this whole saga,
Okay.
he goes on this road trip to New Orleans with a man named Charles Stein,
Really?
even picking up Stein's sister's children along the way.
Wow. So he's involving other people in his life.
Yeah, and it's December 1967 at this point,
Okay.
just a few months before the assassination.
Right.
It's incredible how he was able to weave in and out of these different identities,
It is.
different lives, leaving very few traces behind.
He's a master of disguise.
He is.
It's a real chameleon.
Was this trip just a detour,
Right.
a way to throw investigators off his trail,
Mm-hmm.
or was there something more to it?
It's hard to say.
The report doesn't provide much detail about the purpose of this trip,
It doesn't.
which only adds to the intrigue.
Yeah, it's like a missing piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
A gap in the narrative that we're left to fill in with our own imaginations.
It makes you realize how much we might not know
Right.
about Ray's motivations, his state of mind leading up to the assassination.
Exactly. And this leads us back to Memphis,
It does.
where the investigation comes full circle.
So back to Memphis we go. The report doesn't really dive into what Ray was up to between that New Orleans trip and the assassination.
Right.
But we know he was there in early April 1968.
And that's when everything starts to click into place.
It does.
The rifle, the Mustang, the aliases, those fingerprints.
It all points to James Earl Ray.
It does. And with his capture,
Yeah,
the FBI pretty much closes the book on their investigation.
right.
They conclude that Ray acted alone in the assassination of Dr. King.
But it can't be that simple, can it?
You're right. It's never that simple.
No.
The report acknowledges that there are all these conspiracy theories swirling around.
Oh, yeah.
Some people believe that Ray was just a pawn in
Right.
some bigger scheme
Right.
orchestrated by someone else.
Okay.
Maybe even involving government agencies or organized crime.
It's a case that just keeps people guessing.
It does. It continues to fascinate and fuel speculation all these years later.
And I could see why. The assassination of Dr. King was such a pivotal moment in history.
It was a tragic turning point.
It's hard to imagine that one man acting alone
Right.
could have been responsible
Right.
for something so monumental.
Especially when you consider the social and political climate at the time.
Right.
The civil rights movement was gaining so much momentum,
There was.
challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
And Dr. King, he was at the forefront of that struggle.
He was.
His assassination sent shockwaves across the nation and the world.
And the fact that this FBI report
Yeah.
is so heavily redacted
Right.
just adds another layer of intrigue.
It does.
What's hidden behind those blacked out lines?
Right. What details are they concealing?
Yeah. Could they offer a different perspective?
Possibly.
Or challenge the official narrative?
We don't know.
That's the thing about historical sources.
It is.
Especially the ones that are intentionally obscured.
Right.
We're left to interpret the fragments of information that we have,
We are.
trying to piece together a complete picture, knowing that there might be gaps that we can never fill.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle
Yeah.
with missing pieces.
Right. You can see the general image,
You can.
but you just can't fully grasp the details.
And nuances are lost.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important
It is.
to approach these historical events with a critical eye,
Absolutely.
to question the official narrative,
Right.
and to acknowledge that our understanding of the past
Yeah.
is always evolving.
It is. It's constantly changing as new information emerges.
This deep dive has really highlighted that
Yes.
the importance of considering those multiple perspectives
Right.
and being aware of the limitations of these historical sources.
Absolutely. So what stood out to you the most about this deep dive?
Honestly, it's the sheer meticulousness of the FBI investigation.
It is pretty remarkable.
They tracked down laundry marks, beer can distributors,
I know.
even a handwritten note from a travel agency in Toronto.
It's incredible.
Shows real dedication and resourcefulness.
It does.
But it also makes you wonder if there's more to the story,
Right.
something hidden beneath the surface.
It definitely raises the question of whether we'll ever truly know the full story.
Yeah.
The complete truth behind Dr. King's assassination.
Right. We're left with this official conclusion
Yeah.
that James Earl Ray acted alone.
Mm-hmm.
But the doubts and the conspiracy theories,
They linger.
they do.
It's a case that continues to spark debate and intrigue all these years later.
Well, this has been an incredible journey.
It has.
A deep dive into this web of clues, aliases, and unanswered questions.
Absolutely.
We've explored the meticulous work of the FBI, the elusive nature of James Earl Ray,
Right.
and the enduring impact of this tragic event.
Remember, history is a conversation,
It is.
not a monologue.
That's right.
So keep questioning, keep exploring,
Yeah.
and keep the dialogue alive.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the FBI's investigation of Dr. King's assassination.
It does.
Until next time, keep those minds engaged and keep diving deep.